Let's begin by getting your views on the economic outlook for West Africa. Nigeria is facing a recession right now. In your opinion, what are the reasons for this and how long do you think it will last?
If you look at West Africa, most countries in West Africa, despite the economic challenges, they are actually doing well, pretty well. I mean, you look at Côte d'Ivoire, they are still at about 9.4%. You look at Ghana, second quarter, 4.9%. You look at even Togo. Togo has gone up a bit by, from 5.1 to 5.8%. Benin Republic, 5.2%. So I can go on and on. Our own, is really a little bit, severe. And I think one of the major problem, what really caused it, 90% of the government's foreign exchange earning is from oil. Also, if you look at it, 75% of the government's revenue is also from, oil. And, we've had an issue for a very long time in terms of diversifying the economy. The economy should have been diversified long time, not even now. The only thing that we need to do is to go and make sure that we push through by looking at, okay, fine, how do we get out of this recession? And the only way for us to get out of this recession is by us to try and make sure that, yes, we move quickly into action. Action by, saying that, we diversify the economy quickly. But I think the real challenge for us is now for us to have the political will in terms of selling some assets. I think it's an easier route than going to IMF or World Bank to borrow money, because what we need to do is actually to beef up the reserves. How long do I think that we're going to get out of this? It depends on the political will. One of the issues that we have to do, as a business person, if I have challenges in my company, I will not hesitate to sell any assets to remain afloat, to get to the better times, because it doesn't make any sense for me to keep any assets and then suffocating the whole organization. So what we need to do now, in my own thinking, and we have a lot of assets to sell. We can sell part of the joint venture, companies, part of the shares. Government normally owns 60%, they own 40%. And we can easily sell, additional 11% to either them or to any other international, in an open tender, be it Chinese, be it, this. So with that, first of all, and we can change the term and make it like an operating entity, just like what we have in LNG. I think if we can touch on that, and we can also have another asset that I think we don't really need, the government doesn't need, through the central bank, is the African Finance Corporation. African Finance Corporation can fetch them easily $800 million. My own suggestion before was that they should even sell 100% of NLNG. And, because I don't think government is in any business of investing in sectors like LNG. They have gotten a lot of money. They have average of about $1.5 billion in terms of, dividend. And I'm sure a company like that, with earnings of $1.5 billion on average, they should get anywhere between 12 to 15 billion. You will not believe that the entire issue that we have and the crisis that we have today, if we have $15 billion, by us having that 15 billion, putting it on top of the 25 billion we already have, that is 40 billion reserves. So that one will give a lot of confidence to everybody. Confidence will come back, and then government will go and back it up with a proper economic policy, where people can see the clear roadmap, and this is the area that you need to go and invest. But investors anywhere, unless there are real incentives, they will not invest. I think even by latest by fourth quarter, we can be out of recession. The recession, yes, we just need to do a couple of things, and also understand what it is. But it should be a partnership between government, private sector, so that we can sit down. We're all in it together, and I think we should sit down to make sure that, yes, we find a solution. We have all the answers, and Nigeria falling into recession does not really scare me so much that as soon as we take action, these things they will go away. I'm telling you, this recession is not the recession that people keep saying 2 years. Yes, it might be 2 years if we don't take action. But we know what to do. We know the actions to do. This is a big, huge economy.
The Dangote Group has been obviously quite successful across the continent. If you're speaking to prospective investors and those who are already invested in countries like Nigeria, what's your message to them right now, as many are experiencing recession for the first time?
Well, thank you very much. That's also a very interesting question. You see, we in Dangote were a very dynamic and also very innovative group. We believe so much in Nigeria in particular, and we believe extremely, very, very confident in Africa's growth. So that is the reason why sometimes when you look at it, in a period like this, nobody even invests at all. Everybody is holding on to cash and, to just wait and see who will now go in. But we believe in Nigeria, we believe in Africa, and that's why we keep on investing. And why we are not as badly hit. We are badly, hit too, in the sense that, yes, we are doing projects. So the devaluation also will definitely affect us. If this devaluation had actually come maybe in 2018, we will not even notice that there's anything like recession, because we have already started the last 3 years to fully diversify our company's portfolio vis-a-vis diversifying the economy of Nigeria. You look at it now, the projects that we're doing, they're all major, mega projects that will transform the economy, not only even our own, company, because we have, number one, the fertilizer, urea, ammonia, 3 million tons. We're doing the petrochemical, 1.3 million tons of polypropylene, polyethylene, and we're doing the 650,000 barrels, per day. Because when you look at it today, it's okay, fine. India does not produce oil at all, but India has 238 million tons capacity of, refine. I mean, they have refining capacity, 238 million, but with no oil. We have the oil, but we don't have refining capacity. And I know that, when you look at it today, you can look at it right from the beginning, because, we know the terrain, and we understand also the, terrain, because, we've been in business since 1978. So 1978 to date, we are talking about 38 years of actual, experience into the market. So it's not a market that you just go and take a short-term view. If you are going to take a short-term view, then you will get it wrong. It's a market that you have to believe in it first, and then you have to have a long-term view. And answering your other question, okay, what advice do I have for the other? The other one is that they have to be very, very, they have to be very, very innovative. There's something like innovation in business. So they have to be very innovative. They have to also believe in Nigeria and in Africa, and then also think long term. Once you have these three things sorted out, then you are done. Of course, yes, you don't have 100% control. The other area is to do with government policies and also consistency in policies. First of all, the government, what the governments they need to do, this is not particularly in Nigeria, is actually to work with the private sector and have an articulated industrial policy, which will make sure that yes, you have very good incentives. I know that some people in government, they don't even understand what you call incentive, because they take it as, okay, no, it's a way of just somebody taking money. No. I mean, today, for any company that we operate anywhere, especially in Africa, government earns more money by the time you take VAT, because you have to generate the economic activity, or activities rather, for them to earn the value-added tax. Okay, if you don't do that, it won't be there. You have, withholding tax, you have corporate tax. In Nigeria, you even have education tax. You have various taxes. So by the time you add all these taxes and you see what remains inside the company and what shareholders take as dividend, you see that definitely, government earns more money. Even when you declare a dividend, government earns 10%. Today in Nigeria, you have 187 million people. By 2020, we're going to be 207 million. So if we are going to be 207 million, do you believe that we produce even 5% of the clothes that we wear? The answer is no. Majority of things that we consume in Africa are things that they've been manufactured somewhere and brought into Africa. And that's what I keep saying, that look, today, if you continue on imports, you're actually importing poverty into your country and exporting jobs out. Because you need to create that employment locally by your own consumption. When you look at it in Africa, majority of what we are doing is to export raw materials, and then we import finished goods. But when you now change, you reverse it, it means that all the jobs, you are not going to import poverty anymore. You will be creating jobs. But one of the key factors is that they must believe that people must make money. Okay, but it's not a free lunch. When you make money, they too, they will get their money from you. Government shouldn't be in the business of building factories, but they should be in the business of collecting taxes. But unless I create the economic activity, you will not be able to see any tax to collect. So you need to make sure that, yes, you create the enabling environment by giving good terms. Today there's competition all over the world. It does not mean that because I'm a Nigerian, I cannot go and invest in China. Even China, when you look at China today, is totally a different China. They are not there sitting down as, no, they are socialists, or they don't want to see people's money. Today, China has more billionaires. China has over 500 billionaires on Forbes. Today, China have more than 500 billionaires. And, you also not believe that China has about 3 million millionaires. This is a socialist, socialist sort of, economy. But they too, they believe in people making money, because you need that private capital. I mean, if you take, for instance, in Nigeria, government have done very well. They have done this expansionary budget of 6 trillion. Okay, but 6 trillion in an economy of 90 trillion is only 7%. Okay, the rest of the money comes from the private sector. Okay, vis-a-vis their own 7%, the balance of the 90 trillion in the GDP comes from private sector. So private sector are the ones that will actually look at what is right, how to invest and what to invest in, and then also risk their capital. They need to unlock that capital and bring it in and create more economic activities. Because yes, government, they've tried, but it's only some 1%. It's to show you the size of private sector, especially in Nigeria, is very strong. And if you go back, you check in the last 10 years, or maybe let's not go even too far. In the last 7 years, the growth of the economy, over 80% of it comes from the private sector. So the private sector is not something that you can just write off and say that no, they have nothing to contribute. Those days of government doing everything has actually almost gone for ever. And that's why when you look at it today, we are saying that yes, even for us to develop, I think the model of PPP, okay, public-private partnership, is very key and critical. Because today, if I am going to do a road of 1,000 kilometers in Nigeria, I don't really need to waste 2, 3, 4 years talking about it. Once I start, I'll hit the road, I will raise money, and we'll be able to do it. And, after 25 years, 30 years, whatever, it's a nation you are talking about. So it's there until the last day. And with that, it will revert back to government. But the benefit of government is the job creation that they will have. And it's also infrastructure that's ready for use. It doesn't matter whether it's built by XY company or is built by government. The credit will only go to the government for allowing it to even happen.
I recall in 2014, you made an interesting comment around your advice to governments in an economic slowdown. And you made a point. You felt that governments should diversify the economy, they should remove subsidies, and run government like a business. As many countries face an extremely difficult time today, what is your message to African leaders?
Well, this is going to be a great lesson to most of us because we depended on this commodity type of stuff, even though really the commodity prices have started to, come up, a bit. But I think the next trajectory for African governments should be the diversification of their, various economies. They need to diversify the economy. You cannot just have a mono type, economy. You need to diversify the economy so that if there are shocks, you have, and that's why in a vehicle, they don't have only one shock absorber, they have 4, so that it will balance you in case of a very rough road. And I think this is really what, they need to do. And they need to be more receptive to private sector, give more incentives, like what I said. You see, those incentives, they are not there forever. It's to bring somebody in. And once you are in, then other people too will join. Because there are so much, in the world, are we, are we having a problem with capital? No way. There are billions and billions out there looking for home. But the home has to be comfortable. Okay, so you need to look at this. So I think, by and large, our own leaders, they need to really have this. For example, little things like visa issuance. You go to a country that's looking for investment. That particular country will give you a run around for getting a visa. You have to know somebody who is big in that country to call somebody and say, okay, fine. They are giving you visas as if it is a favor. Like what I said, somebody like me, despite the size of our group, I need 38 visas to move around Africa. Yes, I've heard that, yes, they are going to do the passport. But you can see that there's still a little bit of resistance from other African, leaders. Even countries like Rwanda and Koda say, okay, no visas for Africans. They are still having problems there too, getting visas in some other areas. Despite that, they have said, okay, don't come, don't go and get a visa. They just come. As an African, no need for visa. We'll give you on arrival. But they are still having issues down there, and then also you look at intra-trade in, Africa. Like today, in Nigeria, most of flowers that we use, they come from Europe. But those flowers were exported from Kenya or Ethiopia. Okay? So, and these are things that we need to do. And that's why I said that the economic crisis that we're in now is also a blessing, because now this so much talk about diversification will happen. It's just that, okay, the diversification will happen when, because even with the diversification, you need some foreign exchange. But if I want to diversify today, I don't need too much sort of foreign exchange, because I will borrow foreign exchange. There's nothing wrong in you borrowing in dollars, because if I now borrow money and I go and do sugar or rice, the only way for you to compete with me is to go and look for dollars, you know, to come in and compete with me. But once I get to a certain period, after some few years, now I will pay off my foreign loan in dollars or whatever, but consistently for almost as long as it takes, or as long as the company lives on. You know, you have dollar, you know, income. I mean, can you imagine today if we hadn't really produced more cement than needed in Nigeria today? Okay, and then it means that the government would have actually had to put down something like $2.5 billion to import cement, and that doesn't make sense.
Give us an update on the refinery project. Are you on course? Is anything changing? What are your big challenges?
Yes, our refinery is really on track. You know, the bit of delay that we've had is to do with the sand filling, the dredging. You know, when we moved down there, you know, because the land is sort of, well, it was actually a mangrove, and really we didn't know that we needed this much, you know, sand. Right now we're pumping 65 million cubic meters of sand. That's a huge distance. So it has taken us a much longer time, but we have also tried to shorten the time by you know, doing the piling. Piling, we have over 90,000 piles, and then we have the foundation, we know, which is the pile cap, and also the you know, to get us up to a level of erecting steel. I think we know we'll do well. We're going to finish by mid of 2019. You know, so actually first quarter is our target of you know, oil in. You know, because mechanical completion will finish by 2018. But I know it takes time to test, put in water, and also, you know, then start putting in oil, and then, you know, start production. But hopefully, you know, by end of first quarter, we should be able to. But you are right, also at the same time, yes, we are definitely facing a bit of challenge. But I think most countries, they've been very helpful in terms of export credit, you know, this is, even though, okay, fine, it's dollar that we are taking as a loan to pay later, but we also have created a lot of exports, which actually will allow us to generate a lot of dollars to be able to pay those, you know, loans. We're talking about 6-7 years loan. So I think we'll be okay. We just want to continue to, you know, thank the government for their support and see that, yes, at least, you know, when it comes up to now, we haven't really taken money from the central bank, apart from the interest payments that we have, which is still less than $200 million from 2013 to date. But as we go along, maybe not even next year, maybe the following year, we will demand maybe like about 500. We will demand about just 1 to 1.5 billion in the next 3 years from now. So it's not really going to put pressure on the foreign exchange, you know, demand. And I'm sure most of these things, like what I told you earlier on, once we can go and sell assets for up to, whether assets, debt, or whatever, and put 15 billion, you'll be very shocked at how much the dollar will actually drop. You can easily see 250. Because you see, what is happening today is just mere speculation. Okay, if you know that today I don't have enough cement, you speculate on it, not only even on currency. So currency, everybody will speculate, everybody, no exception. The banks will speculate, the companies will speculate. You as an individual will also speculate, because if you have money you want to send home from abroad, you want to be sending it in trickles so that, you know, the rate will keep going up. If you know that central bank has 40 billion in reserves today, if you have 1,000, maybe $100,000, you might even sell it forward, because you know that this rate is going to crash, and you want to quickly sell before the crash. So that's the essence of you know, the whole thing.